Oh, my name is Jay Swede. We farm here in kind of the corner of Livingston, Wyoming in Genesee County. We grow corn, soybeans, wheat, along with some processing vegetables, sweet corn, peas, string beans. There's a few of the canning crops that we grow for the frozen market. We're on one of our farms here. We have some of our cover crops that we normally do. If you can see out behind me, we have what we call like a bio-tillage strip, where we have tillage radishes and oats alternating on 30-inch rows. And when we come in the spring, we're going to try to plant corn over top of where the tillage radishes are. We like the tillage radishes to suck up some of the nutrients that are left over from the previous crop, which was sweet corn, followed by manure. And then we like to have the oats get big enough that they winter kill and then lay down between the row and give us some kind of a mulch between the rows in the spring. That's what we're doing on this field anyway. And then we have some other ones where we do just some mixes of oats and rye or other types of cover crops, a little bit of trying a few different things here and there. We tried some other mixes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lori Ames. I'm from Western New York Crop Management. We're here at a cover crop trial that was originated through our American Farmland Trust Soil Health Specialist meeting. One of our last meetings, I was talking with Joseph, and we discussed the second workshop that they did, the tubes they brought in for a lab demonstration that showed root depth. And we thought it would be a really neat idea to do that in an actual field and compare it to lab root depth. So Jay graciously volunteered this field for us to use, so we could see in real life what roots do in the actual field versus in the lab conditions. We're taking soil from this field, we're taking weather conditions, and we're seeing what happens. So this is a result of how that came about.
Good morning. I'm Rod Porter with King's Agri-Seed. I'm out here in Swede's field where we've planted some cover crop demonstration plots. Lori Ames organized all of this, and I helped provide some seed and helped her plant. So we're going to talk a little bit about the different things that we planted here. First of all, we planted a number of different species to get ideas of how different species react, what they will produce as far as biomass, what they do for the soil, how easily we can plant into them in the spring. So we have a variety of different things. The idea was to get different ideas on how different things work in this situation and perhaps give you ideas of what could work on your farm in your situation. So the first plot we have here is called, it's a variety called Keystone. It's a winter pea. So this is a pea that you would plant in the fall, get it established, and will survive the winter. It's related to Austrian winter peas. This is a variety that's bred for better winter hardiness. Austrian winter peas sometimes will survive, sometimes don't. This should be much better. Oftentimes we would probably recommend this in some sort of a mix, but so it's a pea. It will fix nitrogen, and it will grow in the spring. So we'll move along. The next plot is called Kazakh black oats, or sometimes it's referred to as a winter oat. If you compare it to the plot right behind me, this is a traditional spring oat behind me. You can see that it has much more growth this fall compared to the black oat. But the black oat will grow longer into the cool season and may actually survive the winter. Depends a little bit on how harsh our winter is, but may actually survive the winter and grow in the spring as well. So we're just comparing these two different oats. We'll see how the root systems look and what happens in the spring. Of course, the spring oat will be dead. This black oat may be alive and growing still. Okay, we've moved out of the oat plots into some winter grain plots. So I'm standing right between winter Triticale to my right and winter rye to my left. two very good grains. Winter triticale is often used as a forage on dairy farms here in New York, but makes an excellent cover crop as well. Triticale will tend to be a little bit leafier, not quite as fast growing in the spring as rye. Tends to also provide a little bit better ground cover, although we have good ground cover with both here today. So winter triticale and cereal rye, both very good overwintering cereals for cover crop. So moving into one of the mixtures that we put together here at King's. As you're viewing this, you probably are looking at and seeing mostly radish, even though radish is a fairly minor component of the mix. It's called broadcaster mix, a heavy component of ryegrass with 3 different kinds of clover and tillage radish. So you can see how easily the tillage radish can dominate, but there is a good establishment of the ryegrass and some clovers underneath. So again, the radish will die, but some of the other components, the ryegrass and the clover, should survive and be here in the spring. This mix has worked really good for us at King's. Now I'm standing in between 2 different types of ryegrass. They're both annual ryegrasses. To my right is a standard annual ryegrass. To my left is a ryegrass called lowboy. Lowboy is more of like a turf type of a ryegrass, and the idea of this variety is that it has a really aggressive root system with a slow growth on the top. The problem with annual ryegrass is it can be somewhat hard to control in the spring. It's got a waxy surface to the leaf. It gets fairly dense and can be a little bit hard to kill. The idea with the lowboy is that it'd be easier to plant into and easier to kill. So we're comparing these 2 different kinds of ryegrass. Next we have one of our Terra Life cover crop mixes called Regal DT. This is a very diverse mix designed for compaction relief and building soil microbes and tilth. So this mix contains a variety of things, including the black oat, the tillage radish, buckwheat, sunflower. You might notice this kind of reddish purplish plant is called abscisian cabbage. That's designed for good root penetration. So and a couple different kinds of clover, as well as flax. If you see the sort of spindly, narrow leaf plant, that's flax. So very diverse mix. This will winter kill. Then we're in a mix called Maize Pro. This mix was designed specifically for planting ahead of corn. So this has a variety of things in it as well. You can see quite a bit different than the other mix. It contains winter rye, vetch, field peas, crimson clover, flax, a couple other kinds of clover, tillage radish, and even a little bit of sorghum, which is dead now from frost. So pretty diverse mix. Some of this mix will winter kill, some of it will survive. So another diverse mix. Then we just have straight hairy vetch. Vetch is a pretty vigorous growing legume. It's a winter annual legume. So we get it established in the fall. It will grow in the spring. It can produce a lot of nitrogen. However, its maximum nitrogen would be at bloom, and oftentimes we're not going to let it go that far because we want to plant our corn prior to the full bloom, which would usually be like end of May. Next, another legume is crimson clover. Crimson clover is a fast-growing clover. You can see we have it established here this fall. We usually like to plant it with something else as a companion just to give it some protection over the winter. It does have a little tenderness, so in a harsh winter may not survive, but most of the time here in New York we get good survival, and this will also produce nitrogen for a future crop. And then we just have a straight plot of the Daikon radish or tillage radish. Many people understand this and have heard about it over the years, but very good for deep root penetration and compaction relief, as well as scavenging and recycling nutrients that are left in the field in the fall.